You see her online, or you hear about her through a mutual friend. She's thriving. Maybe she's taken up a new hobby, landed a promotion, or is surrounded by friends, smiling in every photo. And the silence from her side is deafening. Every conventional sign tells you she's moved on, that the chapter with you is firmly closed. So you try to accept it, to move on yourself. But what if that strength, that silence, isn't the period at the end of the sentence? What if it's an ellipsis, a pause you're completely misinterpreting? This is the great paradox of the mature woman. Her emotional world doesn't always operate on the timeline we expect. We're going to talk about a powerful psychological pattern called delayed emotional processing. This is where, instead of falling apart in the immediate aftermath of a breakup, she first focuses on securing her stability, her career, her home, her social circle. Only when she feels safe and grounded does she allow herself to truly process the loss of the connection. That silence you're hearing isn't indifference. It's the sound of her finally creating the space to feel what you meant to her. Today, we're decoding the subtle signals she's sending, exploring the deep psychology of why she's still interested, and showing you how to read the truth behind her silence. So, if her silence isn't a closed door, how do you learn to read the room? The signals a mature woman sends are rarely loud or obvious. They are subtle, layered, and require you to pay attention to the emotional subtext, not just the surface-level actions. This is about decoding the whispers, not waiting for a shout. First, let's talk about the digital footprint. This is the modern version of driving past someone's house. She might not like your posts or comment on your photos, but she's one of the first people to view your Instagram or Facebook story. It's a silent one-way check-in. It's a low-risk way for her to maintain a sense of connection and stay updated on your life without opening the door to a conversation she might not be ready for. This behavior is so common that it's been studied. Research in the journal Cyberpsychology, Behavior and Social Networking has explored post-breakup social media surveillance, finding it's often linked to lingering emotional attachment. For her, it's not about stalking, it's about proximity. She's keeping you in her orbit, gathering information and processing her own feelings from a safe distance. It's a sign that you still occupy significant real estate in her mind.
The second signal is communication through proxies. You'll hear from a mutual friend, "Oh, Sarah was asking how your new project at work was going," or "She wanted to know if you were doing okay after that big storm." She's using a buffer, a third party, to gauge your well-being. This is a classic move for someone who cares deeply but is hesitant to reinitiate direct contact. It accomplishes two things. It gets her the information she craves about your life, and it subtly sends a message to you that she's still thinking of you, all without risking direct rejection or vulnerability. She's essentially testing the waters and tending to the connection, even if she isn't swimming in it. Finally, and perhaps most powerfully, is the unsolicited protective advice. This is when she breaks her silence not for small talk, but to offer a warning or a piece of guidance. Maybe she hears you're making a risky career move and texts you an article about it, or she knows you struggle with a certain family member and reaches out with a supportive message before a holiday. This isn't just a random act of kindness. This is her maternal, protective instinct kicking in for someone she still feels deeply connected to. Her emotional investment in your well-being overrides her need for distance. It's a momentary lowering of the walls because her concern for you is greater than her fear of being hurt. These signals, the digital ghosting, the third-party inquiries, the protective outreach, are the breadcrumbs she leaves. They show that the emotional connection hasn't been severed. But this begs a much deeper question. Why do these feelings linger with such intensity? Why does she hold on in this way? This leads us directly into the profound psychology of what we call emotional imprinting. So what is this emotional imprinting? It's a concept that goes far beyond simple memory. Think of it this way. Some people pass through our lives like tourists, admiring the scenery and leaving little trace. But others are like architects. They don't just visit, they help build new rooms in our emotional home. They change the very structure of who we are. For a mature woman who has already done most of her own construction, meeting someone who can still add a new wing or a foundation-level support system is profoundly rare. You didn't just share experiences with her, you imprinted on her emotional blueprint.
This isn't just poetic language, it's rooted in our brain chemistry. The renowned biological anthropologist Dr. Helen conducted groundbreaking studies using fMRI scans on individuals who were intensely in love. Her research, published over years in journals like the Journal of Neurophysiology, showed that deep romantic attachment activates the brain's ventral tegmental area, or VTA. This is a core part of our reward system, the same system activated by addiction. When that connection is lost, the brain doesn't just forget, it craves. The imprint you left is a neurological pathway that continues to fire long after you're gone. This deep attachment is amplified by her life stage. As we get older, the frantic search for excitement often mellows into a deep-seated need for emotional stability. The philosopher Alain de Botton talks about love as the search for a safe harbor where our vulnerabilities are accepted. If you provided that for her, that sense of being truly seen and safe, you weren't just a partner, you were home. That feeling of psychological safety becomes a golden standard. It's the benchmark against which all new connections are measured. And here's the paradox that most men miss. When she starts dating again or building a new life, we assume it's a straight line moving away from the past. But it's often the opposite. Every new, shallow conversation she has with someone else only serves to highlight the depth she shared with you. Every new person who fails to understand her nonverbal cues reminds her of how you could read her with just a glance. A 2017 study in social, psychological, and personality science found that reflecting on past relationships can clarify what we truly value. For her, these new experiences aren't erasing your memory, they're often sharpening the focus on your significance. Her attempts to move on can ironically become a journey of rediscovering your value. This entire internal process, the neurological craving, the search for that lost stability, the constant comparison, is happening completely beneath the surface. And because men are so often conditioned to take things at face value, we see her strength and silence and arrive at the completely wrong conclusion. This leads us directly to the most common and most damaging misunderstandings men have about a mature woman's heart. This internal world of emotional imprinting is precisely why men so often get it catastrophically wrong. We are conditioned to read the world literally. If someone is succeeding, they must be happy. If someone is silent, they must be indifferent. This leads to two fundamental and often heartbreaking misunderstandings when it comes to a mature woman. The first myth is that her strength means she's over you.
You see her crushing it at work, posting photos from a weekend trip with friends, managing her life with a competence that looks like serenity. And you think, wow, she didn't miss a beat. It must not have meant as much to her. But you're mistaking performance for peace. A mature woman often has responsibilities she cannot abdicate. A career, a mortgage, maybe even children. Falling apart isn't an option. Her strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the container she's built to hold it. As researcher and author Dr. Brené Brown has powerfully argued, vulnerability is the true measure of courage. The strength you're seeing is her courage in action, the act of functioning while she is processing immense emotional weight.
The second and more damaging myth is that her silence equals indifference. Men often interpret a lack of communication as a clear signal of "I don't care." For her, it's often the exact opposite. Her silence isn't empty, it's full. It's full of thoughts she can't articulate yet, full of emotions that are too raw for a casual text message. The connection was so significant that trivial, surface-level communication would feel like a betrayal of its depth. The silence is a sign of respect for what was. It's her way of protecting herself, and perhaps you, from the emotional tidal wave that a simple "how are you" might unleash. I had a client. Let's call him David. He was shattered after his relationship with a woman named Claire ended. For 6 months, he saw her thriving on social media and heard nothing. He was convinced she'd erased him from his life. He felt like a fool for still grieving. Then, he ran into her best friend at a coffee shop. The friend told him that for the first 3 months, Claire could barely get through a workday without crying in the bathroom. Her social trips were a desperate attempt to feel normal, and she told the friend, "I can't talk to him. If I hear his voice, I'll lose all the progress I've made in just holding myself together." David was experiencing a classic case of what social psychologists call the fundamental attribution error, attributing her behavior to her character, she's cold, she's over it, rather than to her situation, she's overwhelmed and protecting herself. Her strength was a survival mechanism, and her silence was a sanctuary. Understanding this flips the entire script. It shifts the question from "does she still care?" to a much more powerful and productive one. Given that she likely still cares, what is the mature, respectful way to move forward? And that is exactly where we need to go next. So if you've realized her strength is a container for her pain and her silence is a sign of respect for the connection, what do you do? This knowledge isn't a license to charge back in, demanding a second chance. That's the old pattern. The mature path forward isn't about chasing her, it's about becoming the man she can safely walk toward. This requires 2 fundamental shifts, one internal, one external. The first and most critical step is radical self-development. This isn't about hitting the gym to get a revenge body or posting pictures of a flashy new lifestyle to make her jealous. That's manipulation, not growth. True development is about looking inward and addressing the very reasons the relationship fractured in the first place. Was it your communication, your emotional unavailability, your insecurity? You have to do the work. This is where you demonstrate change instead of just promising it. This process is what family systems therapist Murray Bowen called differentiation, the ability to maintain your own sense of self and manage your own emotional reactivity even when you're close to someone. A man who has done this work becomes a source of stability, not chaos. He communicates through his actions that he is no longer the same person who contributed to the initial pain.
Only after you have genuinely engaged in this internal work can you consider the external step, reestablishing contact. And how you do this is everything. You can't just send a "hey, you up" text. Your approach must be a temperature check,
not a demand. It needs to be low pressure, respectful, and selfless. It sounds something like this. Hey, her name. I've been thinking a lot about us, and more specifically, about my part in why we ended. I realize I wasn't honest about your failing, e.g., the best communicator. And I'm sorry for the pain that caused you. I've been working on that. If you're ever open to it, I'd love to buy you a coffee and just share what I've learned with absolutely no other expectation. This kind of message does three crucial things. It takes full ownership, it proves you've been self-reflecting, and it gives her all the power. This approach avoids triggering what social psychologists call reactance, which is that instant resistance we feel when someone tries to pressure us or limit our freedom. By making a respectful, no-strings-attached offer, you invite connection instead of demanding it. You're not trying to rewind the clock. You're offering to start a new, more honest conversation. This isn't about fixing the past, but about building a foundation for a different kind of future, whether that's together or just as two people who have found peace. But this path requires you to confront one final crucial distinction in your own heart. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most important piece of this puzzle. Before you even think about picking up your phone, you have to confront that one crucial distinction in your own heart with brutal honesty. You have to ask yourself, am I feeling this pull because of her unique, indelible emotional imprint on my soul? Or am I just lonely? Loneliness will make you miss the comfort, the routine, the presence of anyone. Recognizing her imprint will make you miss the specific way she saw the world, the safety you felt in her presence, the person you became when you were with her. Loneliness is a void that needs filling. An emotional imprint is a masterpiece you mourn. Be sure you know which one is driving you. So, let's recap what we've uncovered. We've dismantled the destructive myths that a mature woman's strength means she's over you, and that her silence equals indifference. We've learned that her emotional world operates on a different timeline, often processing the connection only after she's rebuilt her stability. We've explored the deep psychology of emotional imprinting, that neurological and emotional blueprint you left behind. And we've laid out the mature path forward, which is paved not with pursuit, but with profound self-development. Your growth is the only currency that matters now. So, here is your one concrete, actionable step for today. Not tomorrow, today. Find a quiet moment, take out a piece of paper or open a note on your phone, and answer this question. What was my core pattern that contributed to the end of this relationship? Don't write down the surface-level fight. Go deeper. Was it emotional avoidance? Was it insecurity manifesting as control? Was it a failure to be truly present? Identify it. Then write down one single small thing you will do this week to begin changing that pattern. Maybe it's reading a book on communication, scheduling a therapy session, or starting a meditation practice. That is the work. That action is your first real step toward becoming the man who is truly ready for that connection. Because in the end, this isn't just about her. This is about you. It's about evolving into a man who is not just capable of attracting a woman of substance, but of building a secure and lasting home with her. Your growth is the ultimate prize. I want to hear your stories. In the comments below, share one misunderstanding you've had about a partner's behavior after a breakup. Your insight could be the revelation someone else needs to see. And if this video gave you a new perspective, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thank you for having the courage to look inward. I'll see you in the next one.